What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Just finished watching episode 4 of Secret Invasion. I know, I've got a lot of catching up to do, but this fast has been really kicking my behind. As you can see, I'm doing this with no makeup on. Today is probably one of the worst days of my fast. I'm having like cold / flu-like symptoms. Just not feeling that great. So yeah, I've just been trying to get around to it and I just haven't been able to, so I'm playing catch up between today and tomorrow. But anyway, my reaction is under my YouTube memberships. If you are new here and you do not know what those are, they are just a few special perks for members only. I've got 2 levels of memberships over there. Level 1 is for $2.99, and you do get priority replies from me, special polls, and eventually live streams, and that's for members only. Level 2 is for $4.99, and you get everything that level 1 has, plus you get all of my reactions to all of the shows I watch, any movies I watch, and all of my uncut Try Not to Laughs. So make sure that you go over there and check that out. Now, this episode started off with Nick and Priscilla having a little date, and they're going back and forth about this poem book that she's reading. I'm skipping around. It was longer than that. But he's really not into poems. She is, so she's giving him the book and she's like, you start off. And she's answering all the things that he's saying in this book. And it's basically like, you know, all I ever wanted was to be called beloved. And, you know, it's all referencing to this book. So we know that in the last episode, she somehow got a gun for some reason. In this episode, we find out that she was actually sent to kill Nick Fury. Okay. So she ends up going to this church or this little concert, and the colonel ends up showing up there and they're talking, and she knows that Nick did not retire, that he actually got fired, but she thought it was by the president, and he lets her know, like, no, I fired him. So he's basically telling her, like, I'm telling you to kill him or else, right? Now, the whole entire conversation, Nick is listening to this at home. He hears everything that she is saying, and he's like, damn, like, she was really getting ready to come kill me. Like, she is planning on killing me. So she goes back home. She notices that he didn't have the ring on. And she ends up finding him in the kitchen. In the midst of all of that, no, I'm sorry, that's not how this started. It actually started by us finding out that Gaia is not dead. She actually went into that contraption where we saw what's his name, Gravik, talking to the council in, and that actually gives you, I guess, immortal power, because he talked about how they could switch up powers. So we see the back end to what she actually did before she gave her father the code that he needed, because she knew that if anything went wrong, they were going to kill her. And of course, it happened the way that she thought, but she saved herself because she ended up implanting that power in her where she came back to life, which I'm glad about. I figured something was up because we didn't see whether she was really dead or alive. So anyway, so we see Gaia and we see Talos talking, and Gravik thinks that she's dead. Stupid on his part. So he's not so smart, but they're basically having this conversation where she tells him what happened. He feels bad about it. And then she tells him, look, I need to be here with you. And then he's talking to her about how he basically is trying to be good, how he's trying to prove that they're good. He's trying to fight basically for the Skrulls and humans to all live under one roof at peace. And Gaia tells him, like, you're delusional. Like, that's not who we are. And that's not who I grew up to be. And that really hurt him because he's really trying to just make peace. He wants everyone to see that they're peaceful creatures. But she ends up walking away. So there's that, right? So back to Nick Fury and Priscilla. So she ends up going home. She sees that he doesn't have the ring. He's in the kitchen. She walks in and they're talking, and she's basically asking him, why don't you have your ring on? And he's like, oh, I came in through the back. And they both have a seat at the table. And he basically tells her that out of all the things that he's done, she is his greatest mistake. And I was like, oh, that's a blow. And he basically lets her know, like, I know you're being sent to kill me. And so in that conversation, she explains the story behind who she is and why she chose the person. And so the person that she chose was someone who was sick, who she was looking after. And then in her last moments, the woman said to her that what she would want most is to fall in love. And so she began telling this woman, Priscilla Davis, about Nick Fury. And she's like, okay, well, basically she wants to fall in love with him. And the woman asked her for 3 things. One was to bury her at sea, which she did. The second thing was to take care of her parents, which she's done. And then the third one is to never hurt Nick Fury. So this is her basically telling Nick, like, look, I would never do anything because I promised these things to her. So they end up kind of reciting the poem that we saw them reciting in the beginning, and then they shoot each other. But they end up both shooting the walls. So I got scared because I'm like, oh my God, one of them is shot. But neither one of them got shot. So he's just like, oh, well, I don't know if we should go our separate ways or renew our vows, because neither one of them wanted to kill each other, which is good. So, and you can tell she doesn't want to kill him. So aside from all of that, now he goes to pay a visit to the Colonel. He knows the Colonel is a Skrull, but we see it when he's looking at himself in the mirror. I didn't know he was a Skrull until now. I was like, whoa. So now he's sitting here at this conversation, offering him liquor or whatever, and it's pretty believable for the most part. So then I think that the Colonel is starting to get a little suspicious. He ends up drinking what Nick Fury was offering him. And in the midst of that, he was just like, oh, let me go to my counter. So he's basically plugging in this drive and showing Nick that he saw him kill the agent, right? And Nick was like, you and I both know that that's Gravit. That wasn't me. But he doesn't believe him. He was like, well, basically, you come break into my suite, threaten me. Just so we understand each other, between this and all the copies I made. So he basically is letting him know, like, look, this is going to come out. At some point, it's going to come out. So he's got all these copies. And in the video, I don't think there's any way for him to really prove that it wasn't him. Unless there's some type of glitch or something that he's missing. They didn't really go into that in this episode, which I'm hoping clears his name, but we'll have to see about that. Something's got to be up in the video where they can catch that it's really not the real Nick Fury. So he leaves, but we all know now that the Colonel is a Skrull. So he ends up getting into the car with Gallows. Now we find out that the liquor that he was giving him is actually a tracker. So he didn't notice that, but now he's kind of like out of his mind. So he meets up to see the president come out of the plane and everything. And he's talking to him in such a way that the president knows, like, something's up with him. So, but he doesn't know what it is. He basically just tells one of his detail agents, like, look, give him a coffee or something, because something's up, right? So they end up getting in there. But what we see at this point is that there is a hit on the president. There's a hit on the president, and Gravik, of course, is behind it. So he's in the car, and the Colonel tells him, yeah, the 4th car. He's in there. So here come Gravik and all his team shooting at the president. Cars flying everywhere. It's crazy. Everything's blowing up. Everything's going nuts. Nick Fury shows up with Gallo because he was trying to figure out where he was going. And he ends up seeing the smoke, so they end up driving over to where the smoke is, and at this point he sees that everything is just chaotic. Like, now you've got, you know, Gravik and his team against the president's people, against, I don't know if those are the Russians that they were talking about. Everybody's just, the bullets flying everywhere. Nick and Gallo end up showing up there. They take down a few helicopters, but in the midst of all that, they're trying to save the president and get the president up out of there. So long story short, they find out that Nick Fury is there, and by the time they got to the car, Gravik ends up shooting Gallo, and even then you see like half of him turning. So one of the agents said to him, "Oh, he's an alien or something." He's just like, "No, no, no, don't shoot. He's with me." So he's breaking the glass until they finally break through the glass to get the president out. And at this point now he's shot in the shoulder, but he's barely making it. So the same agent that noticed him, Nick Fury went to go take the president out, picked him up, put him in his car. He went back to go. He was going to go back to go get Gallo. And instead, one of the guys that was shooting, he was like, "I got you." So he's standing in the middle of everything looking at Nick Fury. Nick Fury already knows, like, nah, like he ain't trying to help him. So he tells him, put him down. And he starts shooting. And of course, the service guy is Gravik because he shifted into looking like him. And right then and there, he ends up stabbing him in the chest. And I was like, oh no, he really killed him, because Gallo didn't do anything that we know of with his power. So I think he's really dead. But then again, just like Gaia, we don't know. We just see that he's just lying there, and bullets are still flying all over the place. And Nick gets in the car with the president, and he's looking over at him, and I'm thinking that he's gonna go grab his body and pull him in the car, but he didn't do that. He left him there. And so that's kind of what makes me feel like he really is gone. He really is dead. And that kind of sucks, because all he wanted to do was bring peace between all of them. And so I don't know how Gaia's going to feel about it. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to go back to get him. I don't know if he's still alive. We'll have to find out. Well, I have to find out in the next episode, but we'll see what happens there. So I don't know. I don't know about this one. About Gaia, I had a feeling something was up. But with him, I think he might be a goner. I'm not sure, but we'll see. We'll see. Leave your comments down below. Let me know if you enjoyed my review and what you guys thought of episode 4 of Secret Invasion. And again, if you are not, I'm sorry, y'all. I have this freaking gnat just flying in my face. Make sure that you guys go and check out my YouTube memberships. Go over there and check that out and become a member if you haven't done so. And as always, if you haven't done so, subscribe to my channel as well. Hit like, share, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you guys can get notified whenever I pop up on your feed. I'll see you guys later. Toodles!